Well, joining us on the program now is Manuel Armendariz, and he's with the United Mutual. Thanks for joining us today, Manny.
Well, thank you for having me.
You guys have had a pretty busy week and a pretty busy month the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been challenging, but I got to admit, it's been rewarding.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, tell us a little bit about what the responsibilities are of a director of United Mutual.
Yes, happy to. And if I get a little bit too serious here, loosen me up a little, because this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yes, sir.
The primary responsibility of a director is, and this is true of all the housing mutuals, and that's to be involved in the management and supervision of the mutual's assets, which are primarily the property, of course, that comprises the village, money, because money's come in through assessments, and we have to try to make sure that it's well spent, and of course to protect any of the assets that are in here in the community. And this role that a director has, it has specific, every director has specific responsibilities under the Davis-Sterling Act, under case courts, and under the governing documents. And the management of the community is actually provided by VMS, that's Village Management Services. And it's an organization, a non-corporation, in which the members are United, Third, and GRF. And they, those three associations work hand in hand with the VMS in running the village. So that's what a director is involved with. They, let's say, provide the guidance over all these functions. Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about the structure of each board, because I know that's quite different. I was actually talking to our CEO, Jeff Parker, and he's used to dealing with maybe a 5 or 7 person city council. And here the structure is quite a bit different for the associations.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. And that was a good remark and observation by Jeff Parker. Here we have a number of organizations, each with different responsibilities. United Mutual, which I'm a director for, is involved with the management of the coast, and that's those residences are actually owned by the corporation. And when you buy into those, you buy a share in the corporation, so you get the right to use that asset that is actually owned by the corporation. And third, you buy a condo, and they even have some single-family homes over there. And then you've got GRF that runs all of the amenities. They run all the clubhouses. There's 7 clubhouses, the golf course, the entry gates. They even own the streets into our communities. So you've got all those to deal with, and Jeff does have his handful. He also has VMS to deal with, who provide all the services to these. And one entity that I'll lift out is Mutual 50, which is the towers, because when we went to management through VMS versus PCM, and it was formed, Mutual opted to have their own management by some outside company. So they're not involved with MS. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that United, Third, RF each have 11 directors. And the directors on the directors United and Third are actually voted on by the members. And United has 6,323 members, and Third has like 6,100. GRF, however, those directors are actually elected by the directors of First, United, Third, and Mutual 50, even though they're no longer managed by a VMS, they are still an owner in GRF, because those 3 mutuals own GRF. Mm-hmm. So it does get a little involved, a little complicated, hard to remember all these things. Right. And the only other thing I wanted to mention here, I'm looking at my notes, is that each mutual usually has 5 officers, and those officers are a president, a first vice president, second vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. And in addition to that, after the officers are elected, then the president usually is the one that decides who are going to chair the committees and which directors are going to be on committees. And I'll get into more of that in the next item that I cover. So that that's the structure of the directors and the mutuals, and it is involved.
Right. As you mentioned, there's quite a few layers of governance in this community, but the committee process is really where a lot of the work is done. Tell us about the function of the committee process.
Well, you hit it right on the head, Paul. You know, I think you could make a good. Anyway, in United, we have 8 committees. And you're right, that's where all the work is done, because the function of the committee is to meet and discuss various topics that come up that maybe think might be an improvement in the way things are done, or maybe we've gotten a lot of questions about that item from members. For example, one hot topic always is the income and asset requirements in the community. You can't just buy a year like you can outside in the outside the village, we'll say. Here, besides qualifying for a loan or having the cash to buy a unit, you still have to meet certain minimum income requirements. So it is different in that respect. And so that's an item that comes up usually in governing documents. The other committees that we have architectural control, we have landscaping, we have maintenance and construction, another very important committee. We have members hearing, we have resident advisory, and I don't think of communications, I almost forgot that one, and architectural control. The committees are comprised usually of the chairperson plus 2 to 4 other directors that serve on that committee. And most of the committees meet monthly. Occasionally, some of them that don't have that many topics to cover might meet bi-monthly, or sometimes they get canceled for some reason, like with this COVID-19. A lot of times something comes up that causes us to postpone the meeting into the next month. So that pretty much tells you about the functions and responsibilities of being an director.
Right. Well, speaking of that, unbelievably, it's the end of August coming up, and you're going to have elections for a couple of positions that might be open for your particular mutual. So what kind of process does someone of interest might have to go through to become a director on United Mutual?
Well, good, Paul. I'm very glad you brought that up, because this gives me a chance to plug this. The openings we have 4 openings that are going to become available this year. Usually the term of a director is, well, it is 3 years, but the number of directors positions that open up depend on when the term of that director expires. There's 11 directors, so the term expires every 3 years. So generally 1 year that only might be 3 openings, the other 2 years would be 4. This year there happens 4 openings, and the applications open up July 31st, and they have until September 1st, which I believe is a Monday, 5 o'clock, to get their application in. And the way to follow this process is if you are a candidate, you want to serve on the board, you can get the application forms from the corporate secretary, who is Cheryl Silva. And she can be reached at this telephone number. It's 949-268-2383. So if somebody you want to jot this down, get your pencil and paper, and I'll repeat that again. And that number is area code 949-268-2383. The other thing I wanted to add here, just so people are aware, is there are some minimum qualifications to apply for this position. And some of them are, you must be a full-time resident in the community, and you must be a member for a minimum of 1 year. You also have to be in good standing in the community, and that means that you can't be delinquent for more than 30 days in the payment of your monthly estimate. You cannot have been convicted of a crime that would prevent the United Mutual from being able to obtain fidelity bonding, because all the directors are required to be covered under fidelity bond, because their primary responsibility is to safeguard the assets of the community. Also, you cannot be an employee of VMS or any of the corporations. And you can't have a conflict of interest with any of those corporations. So those are the basic qualifications that are required.
Do you think there's any particular professional qualification or experience that you think is of value to this board or probably future boards?
To be frank about it, there are certain people that are, you desire to serve on the board, but the basic ingredient, I think, is to be able to be fair, use common sense, and I think having the quality of caring for the community.
Right.
I mean, if you care for the community, I think you're going to make the right decisions. And as far as qualifications, I'm a retired CPA, so naturally I lean towards CPAs. I mean, CPAs usually make good directors. And so do engineers. So do persons with construction experience. And so do people with real estate development and property management, any kind of a business ownership. Through the mill. They've got some knowledge that would be helpful. I mean, we'll even take attorneys. I'm just kidding. But, as far as candidates, again, it's let's say it's ideal. But if we get people that care about the community, I think that's the most important person that we're looking for.
Absolutely.
So volunteer. If you want to help us, volunteer.
Yes. Now, I know you've had a busy week with the 2021 budget prep, so I just want to catch you before we let you go here. Do you have any closing comments that you want to share before we head out?
Only that I believe the coronavirus, COVID-19, although it's, played havoc with our lives, I think a good way to look at it, it's been a learning curve, and it's made us realize how important a lot of things that we take for granted are.
Right.
It's to me is given the message that we depend on each other. And so that's come through clearly to me that we're all important to each other. And so that means we need to work together. And as a director, that is vitally important.
Right.
So have the attitude of caring and trying to work together. So Paul, thank you for all your good questions. It's been a pleasure to share it with you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this day. We have some very important dates to meet here in the next couple months. We have the business plan to put away, and then we also have election of officers for your mutual. So we appreciate the time you spent with us.
Thank you, Paul. It was a pleasure.
All right. We'll be right back with more this day right after this.